Welcome to the Foundation's Conversation at Home program, because let's face it, we're all at home. I'm Drew Barrymore. Nice to meet you all. And before we speak to our guest today, I want to let you know that the Foundation has set up, and this is very important, a COVID relief fund in order to support thousands of union performers who are going through tough times. And since March, the Foundation has given over $6.1 million in emergency aid to more than 6,600 performers and their families. And if you are a SAG-AFTRA member and you need any help or assistance, please ask for it. And if you can also, and you have the time or the means, please help. And the information can be found in the description of this video. And thank you for your support always. As a SAG member since 1975 or 6, I can't remember. I was in diapers, but I'm a longtime member and fan. And I don't think that, well, I feel kind of feisty. So I think I pretty much fight anyone to say who's a bigger fan of the person I'm about to introduce than me. So get your dukes up and let's see who's a bigger fan of the one and only Hugh Grant. Hello, Hubert.
Oh, Drew, you're so nice to do this. And no, you are. You are. I feel a strange connection with you.
Pleasure.
Yes, it's an unusual connection. It's not like the connection I've had.
That's not easy to have with you either. So I feel very
I agree. I agree. I'm not easy.
No.
But also, it's very nice to be here. And well done, SAG, for their good work. They're a good union.
You are such a good person, and I loved working with you, and you are a unique creature, and you do such a good job at, I've had a lot of Sullivan's Travels kind of feeling in the it's one of my favorite movies in the world. Do you know it?
No.
Well, in a nutshell, this director, who's like the biggest comedy director in Hollywood, played by William Holden, he thinks that his life is like not meaningful, or he doesn't like reach the top of the mountain because he's never filmed a drama. And he wants the studio's backing to go make this really true to life, hardcore, like get into the pain of it all film so that he can do something important. And he meets Veronica Lake along the way, and things ensue. And eventually he actually does end up finding himself in very tumultuous, difficult life or death circumstances. And in that, he ends up seeing the prison inmates that he's with. I guess I just gave it away. And they get to see a cartoon one night, and they are laughing and they are happy. And they are being entertained. And he realizes in that moment that what he does has meaning. And in times like this, it's hard to think of entertainment as meaningful because everybody else, thank God, has come to the forefront. It is not the celebrity that is being celebrated. It is the frontline workers, and all the dynamics have changed, and all the superhero capes have switched from one being to another. So I think everything is actually very balanced finally, and I love it. But I also have reawakened my respect and my need and my appreciation for entertainment, movies, the education, the escapism, the goodness, the laughter, the comedy, the depth, everything that comes out of it. I feel so much goodwill towards what we do. And I love that at this time, I've also seen you put out this incredible piece of work in The Undoing, which I watched with so much excitement. The genre, the tone, the choices you made. I have been one of your biggest fans your entire career. And this, I think you've only ever done the best work. And then you put this person out into the world, this doctor, this man. And it was I didn't know who I was dealing with. And it was so cagey and unknowing, and I was being undone. And I was curious, as my first question, which none of these come in any order, but did you consciously go into this knowing your own body of work and wanting to bring things from it, avoid things from it? Did you mark your script of like, when should there be a seed of maybe or absolutely not, or mislead? How did you go about making this person come alive so brilliantly?
Well, what I wanted to avoid doing, if I could, was to be me, because I've done too many films where I was a bit me, and in recent years I've done much better being not me, being character parts, and I seem to be just better. So I had a whole way of playing this part that was not at all like me, and I had a whole backstory and a whole look that was going to go with it. And everyone said, great, we love that, yeah, let's go with that. And costumes were made, and hair was prepared and everything. And at the last moment, Susanna Bier, who directed it, said, I don't think we want any of that. And it was very alarming. And I was quite angry. But actually, I know what she was up to. She thought, well, Hugh, we kind of need the baggage you bring of Mr. Nice Guy from Music and Lyrics with Drew Barrymore and all those films. We need that to convince people that despite all the evidence, you're innocent. And so I rethought it a bit, and I did bring much more of myself. And but really only in episode 1. After that, he goes off. Mm-hmm. Episode 1, I was slightly uncomfortable because I felt we need to love him, and I had to wheel out some old tricks.
How do you feel when people say that? Like, I remember meeting the gentleman I did this film, a series called Santa Clarita Diet. And he was like, this person eats people and I want them to like her. So I really want you to do it. And I was like, okay, that's so weird. I kind of love that, but okay. And, I think we always want to challenge ourselves and do something that we didn't think we could do. I don't know what other people think I can do. I wouldn't want to be that egotistical about it, but do you have fun trying to prove to yourself that you can do it different?
Yeah. It's like I say, to be honest, before I was ever an actor, which I never really meant to be originally, I was doing silly voices for radio commercials. That's what I thought I was quite good at. And then with 4 Weddings and a Funeral, suddenly I was this leading man, and I thought, well, great. I'm delighted. These are nice films that they do well, and people love them, but I don't think this is particularly what I'm good at. And then when I started doing things that were further away from me, I don't know, whether it was Paddington or The Very English Scandal, things like that, I thought, yes, I'm easier here. I'm more relaxed because there's a mask. I'm playing someone else. Anyway, yes. So I think the people who get underrated in acting, my personal theory is the people who do keep it closer to home, because that's really, really hard. It's really hard.
I agree. And I think it goes back to that Sullivan's Travel too. Comedy isn't necessarily, it's the dramas that, are the, you gotta suffer, and then we'll notice, or, it's funny how that works when it's really like we're all dying to laugh. But I do think that regardless of whether you like comedy and drama, I think as an actor, if you're going to keep working over and over again, you want to keep it fresh. So then you're going to start working to make it different, just to challenge yourself and switch it up and make it fresh and have a goal that inspires you to go to work every day. And this, to me, your character in this particular incredible piece of work was different from episode to episode. And that's why I asked, did you actually track in your script when you would play that tone.
Well, I did. I don't know if you remember this from music and lyrics. But I'm a nightmare in terms of stress. I put too much stress on the whole thing, and by the time I start a film, I've gone through it with such a fine tooth comb over and over again, and made tiny little scribbled notes everywhere, all over the script about what they might be thinking. Where does that come from? Why did they say I want a cup of tea, not a cup of coffee? Because this is something that his father always had. Blah blah blah, on and on like that. And in this case, I actually had to make it for two characters at the same time. I made one for guilty Jonathan, the real Jonathan, and I made one for innocent Jonathan, because innocent Jonathan exists. He believes, like Donald Trump believed that he won the election, Jonathan believes he's innocent, because it's inconceivable that this great doctor, this great healer, this wonderful father, this wonderful husband could have done such a terrible thing. It's inconceivable to his ego. So he believes, just like it was inconceivable to Trump that he could have lost, he believes that he was innocent. So there was him, and I called him IJ, Innocent Jonathan. And then there was JB, who was John Boy, who I think Jonathan was nicknamed as a kid, who was this spoilt, privileged, perfect boy who just got everything right, got top marks and everything, did brilliantly at university, got, every scholarship in medicine. And he is the real psychopath.
Okay, I just want to go through. I'm going to find the camera. Mwah. I just want to come and kiss you right now, because that was what I was hoping I could find in this conversation, was exactly what you just said. Not only because we're doing a Screen Actors Guild thing, but that's it. That's what makes sense to me. Not only, I don't know if you call it the craft, some people do, or just what the intention is, or a way to keep it straight. But that is brilliant. And that makes so much sense watching it. I think it's so educational for people who want to figure out a process or a roadmap into a way of doing it. And the fact that I didn't know this, but I intimately know sociopathic narcissism.
Do you? Which boyfriend?
Yeah, it was someone.
Come on.
I'll never tell. I'll tell you offline.
I'll Google it.
Oh, I'll spill the beans completely. But I do know it intimately, and it is a clinical condition, and it is everything you just said. It is not schizophrenia. It is a fundamental belief that comes out of entitlement and the falsities and the narrative that is created, where it is the truth. It's infallible. They're not lying. They don't believe there is a lie.
That's right.
So I understand even more that was a choice you made, as well as the intrigue of the process, the IG or IJ and John Boy. I love that. I'm so happy to have gotten that answer, really and truly.
It had to be like that. It was the only way to play it. Our duty as actors is always to be, you're head of the department of your character. So someone's head of lights, someone's head of camera, someone's head of sound. I was head of Jonathan. And my job was to be true to him at all times. And that's hard in a whodunit, because like in episode 1 of this series, I go to that fundraiser ball, and this woman who I've been shagging, having an affair with, who had a kid with me, but has turned into a stalker and is threatening to ruin my life, is there. She's suddenly there with her boobs out and staring at my wife. Now, it's very difficult not to think I should act that a fraction when someone says, "Oh, there's that woman." There should be a shadow of alarm across my face. That's the truth of the character. But for the whodunit, you absolutely can't do that. You'd be giving it away. So you have to find a way where it's true that he's such an impeccable actor as a sociopath or psychopath, whichever it is, that simply doesn't happen. But it's hard, it's hard. And whenever I said to Susanna Beard, who directed it, this could be a kind of sweaty moment for Jonathan, she'd say, yes, but we don't want to see it. And she was right. She was right.
It's so well crafted. I at one point I thought everybody was guilty, but because the weapon was found in the fireplace, I just thought it's got to be someone who's more intimately involved in the wheelhouse. But I just loved it, and I loved. I hope I'm getting her name right, Matilda DeAngelis.
Yes.
Oh, what a perfect casting.
Yeah, brilliant.
So brilliant. I was like, oh yes. I mean, when she just walks up to Nicole Kidman in those, naked, and it's just the weirdest thing ever, but you're like turned on, but you're confused. And you're like, I wish I was that brave, and I want to stare at her, but I want to run away. And then with you, she's just that exotic, like just beautiful, unique, gorgeous, alluring, titillating. But then she gets this like kind of glazed look in her eye that's almost dead and vapid and like weird and scary, but then you still want more because it's like hot and oh my god, it's so good. And I
always had an interesting theory about the character she played. Was that?
Tell me.
Well, we unfortunately don't see enough of it, but I think that she was the one person in Jonathan's life who was as psychopathic as him. I think she's completely ambitious, clinical. I mean, for God's sake, her son was dying of cancer and she started shagging me behind her husband's back. I don't think if Matilda was on this Zoom, she would agree, but I think she was total monster. And I think that was the fascination. It was monster to monster.
Yeah. No, she was off. And
yeah, I think so.
And I just loved the way she played it, which I thought set up Nicole Kidman's stability and it being taken away from her all the more perfect. I just loved all the choices. I loved Donald Sutherland. I loved Edgar Ramirez. I loved Noah Jupe. I loved it. I do think the whodunit genre is one of the hardest to pull off and one of people's favorites. And it's not very available, ironically, because it is so hard. And this was just that perfect thing. Was it obvious in the script that you read? Was it good on paper?
You mean the whodunit?
Yeah, with the script. Like, was it an immediate, or do you think it was the writing? It's always the writing as well as all the people who come on board. And as you said, everyone's ahead of their department. But upon that first read, did you get that feeling?
Well, I knew it was brilliantly written. I could see that. He is the sort of king of American TV. David E. Kelley. David E. Kelley. And it was a pedigree product. It was HBO, it was Susanna Bier, it was Nicole Kidman. So I sort of thought, well, I'm going to have to do this anyway. But I only was given one episode, and it was hard to say what Jonathan was like. He was this charming cancer doctor. Okay, he disappears at the end of episode 1. That's interesting. But I really needed to know that he was the killer before I signed on, because otherwise he's just a man who shagged the wrong woman and apologizes for 5 episodes, which would have been a much less interesting part.
It is weird. I hadn't done TV myself until the Santa Clarita Diet. And when I asked this man, and the first episode was so good, the first 2 episodes were so good, I was like, I love this, I believe in it, but I've never signed on to anything where I don't know that I'm going to like it. What if I hate what if I hate it? I've never had to play something I've hated. I feel like you're going to hogtie me and throw me in a closet and like force me to do this. How do people sign on to TV that's ongoing? And this, again, your pedigree, and you did have maybe bookends, so to speak. But yeah, it's a different experience not having the luxury.
Well, I did have the whole 6 episodes before I signed on. To me, I just can't imagine how you couldn't. I once turned down a huge American thing TV thing, because they said, trust us, the script will be fine. I said, I don't trust you. I do not. And they were very good people. But it's very hard if you're used to reading the whole 100 pages, not to be given the whole thing. And in this case we were, and it was shot like a film, just took 6 months.
Yeah. No, it absolutely, it feels like it. Now you're in Turkey, I believe. Is this right?
That is why. It's one of the reasons why I'm so red in the face in this Zoom. I keep adjusting the light, thinking, what's happened to me? But yeah, the sun is shining. Well, I haven't seen the sun for months, and I'm here about to shoot a film. I brought my family to get them out of London lockdown, and I've been wallowing around in a pool with a 3-year-old all day.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so nice. Do you feel like I mean, when we did our movie together, Music and Lyrics, which I love so much, and I was just saying the other day, I hate that I can't sit around and watch the films I've been in, because that would be so self-indulgent and weird. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Wait, do your children like Music and Lyrics?
I don't think they've seen it crazy enough.
That is insane. I make my films every night. If they don't watch my films, they don't get fed.
I think I think I'm going to force them to watch it. But I don't. They've seen like 50 First Dates. They did not respond. They didn't like ET at all. That they're just not up for it. Nope, no, they're not connecting to ET. And then they didn't like Never Been Kissed. But this is like phases of their life. They'll come around. I'm sorry
that you have two mentally damaged children like that. I love all those films.
And they call them mom movies. They watch the show I'm making. By the way, I'm a television host now. Now life went in that direction, but I couldn't be happier. I get to be my.
So I hear.
It's fun.
What kind of show? A chat show?
Yeah. And I do everything, design and food. And it's like a mood board of life. It's everything I love in life. And I speak to interesting people and a lot of human interest stories. I have a news desk. I have a Drew's News. I love the news. And it's a sort of a mosaic of a bunch of different things. But I'm able to be the kind of parent and yet still work. And, when we did Music and Lyrics, we didn't have kids. And how is it now balancing and juggling it all? Do you take breaks? Do you take them with you? Like, how is it different? We were so young and carefree.
I know. Well, one of the reasons I did The Undoing was to get away from my children, because I got 5 small children and I couldn't love them more. But I mean, I'm really old and it's shattering. So I thought, great, I get to go away on work. And literally the moment I got to JFK each time, I felt overwhelming loss and misery. And I really, really missed them. It was terrifying. So now on this one, I've brought them with me and they're next door. But I don't know what the answer is. I really don't, with juggling those two things.
Well, I think you just answered it actually really well.
Well, you bring them. Well, now that it's COVID and they can't go to school in London anyway, we might as well homeschool. I've rented 2 teenagers to come and homeschool them. And
perfect.
Yeah. Poor things. They don't know what's hit them. Absolute
homeschool is like, it's just the hardest thing ever. I hope you can read between the lines. It's really, really hard.
No, ghastly. My son self-harmed himself in front of this young tutor today because he couldn't do a basic bit of arithmetic. So he stabbed himself in the face with a biro. Difficult situation for the young man.
This is such a wild world, which is why I needed and loved The Undoing at this time. I don't think there has been a better time for great things to be there for people who need to get undone, pun intended, and escape and fall in love with another world that's outside of their own. And may I ask what you're reading or watching yourself right now?
Well, I'm reading Despair by Nabokov. The trouble with me
Are
is
you
that
really?
I've there's about 20 books that I love in the world, and I can't find any others. So I just read the same 20 round and round and round and round. So that's one of them. As for watching, I find most things, although even when they're very good, I love The Queen's Gambit, for instance. I love Crown, but almost everything's too upsetting for me. So I've right now over there, the ladies' tennis and Australian Open is playing. That's very comforting. I like to go to sleep with that on.
I wanted to ask you, would there ever be a character or a film, a remake that you would drudge up and love to play?
Someone suggested today that I should do Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, but in drag, me and Richard Grant. I quite like that.
Are you kidding me? That is brilliant.
Will you produce?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
Who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my God, yes. Let's get that made.
Okay.
I just love any excuse to get to check in with you and say hello and reconnect. And I
want to know more of what's happened to your life. So who's the father of your children? I can Google all this in a minute.
His name is Will, and he recently got engaged. So it's been about almost 6 years since we separated. And I have done everything, honestly, in my power as a human being to make that transition okay for my kids. And it was the death of a dream for me. I still haven't really dated since. I
shouldn't have gone here.
Oh no, it's okay. I also wanted to mourn it for a while. I didn't really understand people who were like, I got divorced and I'm back out there dating. I was like, I need a minute, but I'm blooming and I feel great. And I feel like when life changes your plans, every step I could to be really thoughtful and patient about it. It wasn't pretty. It didn't always feel good. It was messy, but
is he another rock star? You love a rock star.
No, I did it differently, Hugh. That was the whole point. I married the guy who was his parents had been married almost 50 years. No, he was in art or, I did exactly what I thought would be a safe, stable thing because I wanted to have kids in that way. And then it's just, life, it laughs when you make plans. And then it's all about how your reaction to it. And we are the only things we can control. And I've grown up so much since we worked together. And I'm really happy. I'm so genuinely no bullshit happy, that found, earned, fought for, learned, open, happy. Are you happy?
Well, I'm very glad you are. I'm not ever aware of being happy. Of course, as you know, I'm a miserablist. It's a hobby. But the awful cliche, all those terrible people who said to me all those years, Hugh, you've got to have kids, change your life. And I used to say, oh, piss off. Actually, turns out they were right. I mean, it's really nice. It's really nice. It's made me much happier, much nicer person. And actually, I think a bit better actor as well. I can do emotion now in a way I couldn't in the past.
I was going to ask you if you think your whole life makes you better at your job.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. I mean, this resource, I became more and more and more bottled up, atrophied old middle-aged English golfer. And then my heart absolutely melted with these children. And now I can access love and all the things that go with that, like the threat of loss of love.
Yes.
So there's scenes in The Undoing where, I'm in prison and it looks like I may never see my son again. And okay, in fact, I'm a sociopath, but innocent Jonathan thinks that he's a wonderful father and that he loves his son, and his son actually does love him. And I was able to use the idea of losing my children in all that stuff. And It's powerful, very, very powerful, more powerful than I realized.
I think it suits you very well. And
Yeah.
it's so true. You're walking around on this planet and all of a sudden there's a love like nothing you've ever known or will know again. And the stakes have never been higher. And the concern and care is just endless. And I'm so,
because it takes away takes the top off one's intense narcissism, which of course all actors have, just brings it down to somewhere nearer to a reasonable level. One has more self-respect. You think, well, I'm not such a repellently self-interested person. And then you have this greater self-respect, which is always useful.
And stakes. You have stakes in your life. And I love everything you accessed and everything you chose as Jonathan, IJ, and John Boy. I really do, Hugh. I think you're so good in this. And the second it ended, I thought, well, every award under the sun to this man who has also given us so many years of the thing that we do need. We need to be transported. We need to believe. We need to feel good. We need to feel feelings. And you have been, I thank you for many years of service, Hubert, because you have made the world a better place. And whether you can let that in or not, I don't care. I'm saying it to you. And I mean it with all my heart. And I loved you when I got to meet you and work with you. And I love you even more now. And I love you as someone who knows you and has worked with you. And I love you as the person who just loves getting to watch you like everybody else.
Well, Drew, you're very nice. I loved our film. I think I had better chemistry with you than maybe anyone else. Looking back on it, certainly people who watch the film think that. I know we had our moments, but I do think we had great chemistry, oddly, even though you're about a third my age.
By the way, you just look so good. My God, you thank whoever little person you sold that soul to or whatever fountain you're drinking out of. Mwah, mwah. You look fantastic. Come on. You have
to. I look like an old red scrotum, particularly on the zoo.
Well, I hope you'll take the compliment that I meant so much from my heart from before on behalf of myself and all of us who may be attending and kind enough to give their time to this. And I do think that takeaways have never become more important. Honestly, the older you get, the more you want them. And I think your takeaways on how you approached Jonathan, IJ, and John Boy are immensely helpful to a process of how you can dance that dance that you did so perfectly for this character. And you deserve every good thing that's coming to you because of it. And you deserve every good thing in life. And you really have given out so much goodness. And I've had a crush on you my whole life, and I will have a crush on you until the afterlife and then some.
True.
It's true.
You're so nice. You're so nice. Thank you for all that. Very kind of you. And I feel great affection for you. Let's not forget, when I was arrested in 1995, I was sitting in a country house in England, surrounded by the world's press. A difficult time, a tricky time. And amongst the letters that came in was one from you.
That's right. Yes, of course.
You said something weird, like, it's actually quite hot.
Yeah.
You said that?
Well, I love a little, naughtiness. I think I came out of the womb with a martini and a cigarette, like, let's do this. Yes. And I've never really changed. And yeah.
I used to enjoy your stories about your gynecologist as well.
Was that Dr. Chin who yelled at me?
What?
Was that she was like the angry one? Was that the one?
The angry one.
Yeah, she was so rough and angry. Not rough that way, but just behaviorally speaking. I was like, I've since left her. I was like, I think I need a gentler touch. Again, not that way, but just in behavior.
I see that.
And, you know, one of the things that I wrote that letter was because, you know, we think that something might also be our narrative forever. You know, I was on the Enquirer at 13 with, like, of course they had to do the picture of me holding the ET doll because it was just sadder. And, you know, rehab, drugs, blacklisted,
Oh,
you know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've been there too. And that's why I wrote you that letter, because I was like, our narratives will change. This is a moment, and we will wear these things to make us more appreciative. And if you can find a person out there in the world who hasn't had some moments, well, A, and B, there isn't. And yours was utterly charming, and it made me love you more. So, as did apparently everyone else.
Thank you, Drew. You're a good egg. Thank you.
You're a good egg too. I love you. Thank you to SAG for asking me to host this. I couldn't have said a thank you and a yes quicker. I felt honored to be approached about this. It has been an honor and a privilege to do this. It's always an honor and a privilege to be around you, Hugh. And Hubert, let it not be so long, because I miss you. And I'm going to have to go and watch music and lyrics and just do the thing I don't do, which is watch myself, because I need to see you and I need to just live in that moment and that feeling. And that's what I was talking about. These films, they take us away and they take us somewhere really great. And yet I think you're being rewarded and awarded and appreciated right now for a very different approach, a very different character, and doing it so brilliantly. And all of your choices have paid off. And thank you.
Oh, Drew, thank you very much.